This is another episode of Flight Ringer's Super Talk. I'm David King. That's Dan Spottswood.
Hello.
We're professional cartoonists. We're Legion of Superheroes experts. All right, it's Super Talk time.
Yay.
This is the Legion Outpost in Legion 295. We're talking about, I don't know, just not a specific...
287?
280 something.
I see 287 mentioned at least once.
Yeah, the first letter's talking about the new Invisible Kid, and that was in Annual 1, which came out around 290 or something, right? So
yeah,
6 months ago.
I think maybe his first appearance in the proper Legion is the first issue of Great Darkness, isn't it?
I guess so, yeah. I think the Annual
After
1 kind of leads into Great Darkness Saga, which was 290.
Epic first line.
Yeah, the new Invisible Kid doesn't turn me on, but then again, he doesn't turn me off. This guy explains how what the deal is with this futuristic kid with the French accent is all about. And he says he must be from this part of Africa where they're still speaking with French accents from colonialism from 1,050 years ago.
Right. He's obviously not from the part that got banished from Earth for 1,000 years.
Where was Tyrox Island? Marzal. Where was that? Just on Africa?
I assume.
Just an island somewhere near the gigantic second largest continent, Africa.
Maybe it's what's left of Africa, like global warming.
Oh, Marzal itself is all that might be left of Africa?
Like the coasts shrinking.
Yeah.
Like the rising.
Oh, so Africa's only like this big now? It's only as big as Texas or Rhode Island, rather. The retention of a French accent indicates a conscious decision by some of Focar's ancestors to retain aspects of their colonial heritage, no matter how distasteful it seems now.
I don't think that's how accents work, but
like, hey, let's keep our accent, guys. We or no we? We.
I mean, I don't know enough about how quickly like accents change and evolve. This is 1,000 years in the future. I imagine it would have waned at least some.
I mean, unless they just keep speaking French, right?
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, can you have... Like, I don't know when Interlac came in, because supposedly that's the language like they're speaking. Like they have the fake alphabet that we read, but evidently they're also speaking like this universal language, right? It's like Esperanto or something that everybody speaks in the future. And so I guess maybe...
Is he speaking Interlac with a French accent?
Yeah. And like I speak Interlac with a hillbilly Kansas accent, and you do too. Fucking redneck.
I think they're speaking both. Maybe I'm being charitable, but coming up with an excuse here. But in that, like, for example, almost everyone on Earth speaks 2 languages except for us. And the reason why we don't is because the second language everywhere is English. A generalization, but that is the most common second language because the Western world runs things, I guess. Like, people will say like English is like the language of business, or...
That's true. But like, if you look at these little European countries where every country is tiny and they all have a different language and they're all butted up against each other, then okay, you need to speak different languages. Here, somehow it happened that English kind of they killed all the Indians, they kicked out all the French people mostly, and it was started by the British, you know. And
you speak the language of the people with the money.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's in your interest to do that. Some of those countries you're talking about over there, they speak as many as 3 languages.
Right.
Because they'll have like parts of the former Soviet Union. There's plenty of people who speak Russian. Then they're whatever their particular part of the former, their native language there, and then maybe English is a 3rd language.
I wish I spoke more languages.
I do too. It's too late for us, I guess.
Well, I mean, we could do it, but are we going to do it? No.
Right.
Like, go to French night classes. Not going to happen.
There's some reference to, maybe it's in the answer, our basic premise that the French government's known concern over keeping the language alive, so major world language will continue on. Well, I think that permeates here, because I have friends who send their kids to like French immersion charter schools. And I don't get it. I mean, I understand the value to learning a second language, but why wouldn't it be Spanish? Spanish would be a very good language to have here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what French does for you. It seems strange and like French nationalistic or something. I don't know. But it's very strange how they do it there. They have them learn to read in French before they teach them how to do it in English.
Oh, that is weird.
I don't totally get that. And also, all the teachers are from places like Haiti and stuff, which is sort of ironic. But, like former colonies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like you got to keep those colonial languages alive so we never forget colonialism.
Right. I wonder if they have any of those former colony natives teaching history at those schools. Probably not.
Probably not. We don't want history from their point of view.
You don't want to hear about how Haiti had to pay France reparations.
To hear about how nobody gives a fuck about Haiti.
Not even we Americans did anything that fucked up. That's pretty fucked up.
Yeah. Well,
we did plenty of other fucked up things, and probably it adds up to worse, but nothing that audacious specifically that I know of.
Yeah, that's true. That would be like setting up toll roads or something for black people to pay back the slave owners. I mean, if somehow the South had not lost the Civil War, but Lincoln still emancipated the slaves, something like that would have happened.
You could probably argue that we have kind of done it indirectly, but never as boldly.
Yeah, like there's no ledger, right?
Right.
It's fucked up. Roger Tang also wants to see some Asians in the Legion or even in the background.
Levitz's answer here also amuses me. He says, as for Asians, your point is well taken and we'll try to correct it in the next issue or two. I looked into it. The new Asian Legionnaire comes about 10 years after this.
Who's that, Karate Kid 2?
No, I didn't count him. That's maybe only 5. But Dragon Mage.
Dragon Mage. Oh, yeah. Levitz didn't even come up with him. That's a Tomamira Beerbomb thing.
Right, 1993.
Wow. Yeah. As I was reading this, I thought maybe Paul would point out that Karate Kid is Asian, but I guess Paul doesn't believe he's Asian, I don't think.
And he's retroactively half Asian at that, so.
Yeah, but I think Levitz is like this, what do you call him? Like a originalist or whatever, where he might not think of Karate Kid as half Asian or a Bruce Lee lookalike like Grell did, but he is just this brown-haired kid from Adventure Comics 346, you know?
Maybe.
Is that the word for it? Originalist?
He didn't seem that originalist to me when he changed one of the founding fathers' background for Pulsar Stargrave.
Who?
Well, I guess I'm saying, like, in my mind, the founding fathers are the Silver Age writers.
Uh-huh.
Jim Shooter's the Silver Age writer. He changed his story, like, immediately.
Oh, right.
Maybe he doesn't count.
Yeah, I think that shit where... like it was his first ever writing issue of Legion of Superheroes like that. He wasn't steering the ship then. Somebody else told him he had to do this and he was like, yeah, okay.
Or he bolted off.
Yeah, bolting off probably.
Yeah, but Shooter has said that he left from his second time there because of disagreeing with Boltinoff. Boltinoff micromanaging him.
Weird.
Change his storylines.
I kind of got the impression Boltinoff was kind of a hands-off type of editor, but I guess not.
Right, but he's kind of a continuity cop, right?
You know, I just don't know. I always felt like Bridwell was kind of the continuity cop or trying to like make everything line up right. And then
maybe you're right. Maybe
Levitz after that.
Two up. Which one of them wrote Secret History?
I think Bridwell wrote that.
Yeah, that's who I'm thinking of as the continuity cop.
Like Boltinoff to me has no voice creatively. Mm-hmm. Before Boltinoff, it's Weisinger and like, yeah, that guy controlled everything pretty much.
Very strong hands.
But then after that, maybe they were more laissez-faire with what the writers were doing because of don't know what. You just have a freelancer doing whatever, and as long as he gets 10 pages, you're good.
I guess that's plausible. Of course, Silver Age is kind of often criticized for not seeming to give a shit about continuity, but maybe Weisinger's books were at least sound like they matched up.
Like I think some of this stuff maybe nobody ever on the creative end nobody ever remembers what happened 5 years ago to use that again.
Well, a lot of guys they seem to approach it like before there was home video, TV TV guys didn't worry about recycling stories that they'd done in the series earlier because there weren't reruns, there was no home video market, so they could just do it again and get away with it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the editors at this time are like, we can do it again because all the people who read it then are 12 now instead of 8, and they're not reading comic books.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
That backfired on them, though. They had to start rethinking things when the letters were coming from adults. I've been reading this book for 19 years. Maybe they didn't know what to make. 19 years? Is this?
Yeah, they made their comics too good.
This must be a typo. You must.
Right, like, yeah, somebody who's been reading comic books for 19 years is not intelligent enough to write a letter.
Right. What's going on here?
The next letter is Kenneth Holdren of Hampton, Virginia. He says 289 is a step backwards. Yeah, this is interesting. He's like, Paul, slow down. You have time. You're packing too much stuff into these issues. Too many subplots. He seems to think that Paul's trying to conclude a bunch of subplots prior to anniversary issue 300 for some reason.
I don't know if he ties anything up there, does he? Except maybe what happens with the adult Legion.
Yeah, that's the thing that nobody's asking for anyway, though. Well,
right.
Some people are kind of, but yeah, he doesn't tie up anything. I don't think he's trying to tie up anything. I think he's trying to put as many subplots in there as humanly possible and just keep them going forever.
Right.
Soap opera style. Like, that's his philosophy on these comics.
Right. I think that's kind of fine, actually, even if he doesn't get around to tying them all up, because sometimes events don't lead to anything. Not everything in life has clean resolutions.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, I don't like it when his plots seem like he comes back to wrap them up and it's the least satisfying wrap up. And he does it a lot. He's done it a bunch of times.
Right.
So I don't like that about it. But I think the idea that there's, you got 20 some Legion of Superheroes characters. How about we have fucking 20 something subplots going on? I'm okay with that as long as they're pleasing stories. You
still have to finish reading it and feel like there was a point to reading it, like you learned something new or something happened.
Yeah,
in some fashion. And sometimes it feels like he's just like, if I change scenes enough times, it's going to seem like a lot's going on when nothing has happened. No one has changed or learned. No plot has been advanced.
Yeah, I think he fell into a real quagmire with that kind of philosophy in the Baxter series, right?
Right, definitely.
Where it was just like seriously treading water for a couple of years there.
I think maybe like Giffen's a little bit the opposite. Like he is more impulsive or less patient. So maybe he was pushing things along.
Yeah, he likes to just drive the story. He's all story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe Levitt's like, could you say that Giffen's a big pushing the story and Levitt's is trying to work on the characterization angle?
Yeah, maybe so. Levitt seems pretty conservative when it comes to shaking things up, turning things upside down, doing something really radical or huge departure. And Giffen seems like he wants everything to be crazy. He'll blow everything up if he can get away with it.
Yeah, conservative is the right word. He really plays it safe all the time, I think.
Right.
I think even in reality, he plays it safe with like his publishing business. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, he's a lot more precious with these characters. And like, I think Giffen, while he did grow up with these characters, he likes them, he would not hesitate. Like, if there weren't people holding him back, he'd probably have killed them all off by now.
But see, I think eventually Levitz must have accepted that about himself and pushed back. Because I remember when the New 52 series came out, or one of them, I don't know. I guess there was one going and then New 52 happened and they started over again. Is that what happened?
Even though the numbers started over, I think it's more or less the same story.
Right. I think of it as the same thing. But yeah, there's two number ones there. During one of the number ones promo rounds, like a big plot thing is that he blows up Titan, the moon of Titan, where Saturn Girl's from.
Okay.
Blows it up, right? And so he's talking about, in the, like, you see these interviews on Newsarama or whatever, and he's like, oh yeah, I love to go in there and make their lives as hard and crazy as possible, and I'm doing all this and that, and it's like, no, I don't think you're the guy who used to do that. Giffen did stuff like that. But
yeah, and Giffen blew up the earth.
Yeah.
He blew up the place where one or two characters in the story were from, and they never revisit.
Right. But he's trying now. Like
right.
he's in the 21st century now. He's like, all right, I'm going to be the guy who turns everything upside down. So that was his. Yeah. Giffen blew up the earth and the moon. Levitz is like, well, what can I blow up? Saturn Girl's planet.
Yeah, Earth would be too crazy.
That's the
moon would be too crazy.
Dipping my toes in the pool.
One of Saturn's many moons, maybe.
Did you see that link that I sent you on Twitter the other day? It was in DM. Like, it's this blog where this guy, he's just like
I read it and I forgot to click on it because I looked at it at work. I think I need to check it out.
It's kind of good, but it's like this one. Like, anonymous, of course. I don't know who this person is, but he's writing these long blog posts, like talking shit on Stan Lee, which is, shooting fish in a barrel. But
right,
he has a bunch of takedowns of like Roy Thomas, who is also kind of fish in a barrel. But he has one where he's talking shit about Mark Evanier.
That's who I was going to guess it was.
Yeah. Oh, but he's not the writer of this. No, he dislikes Mark Evanier as much as he dislikes Stan Lee.
Okay. Wow.
And Jim Shooter. But he was talking about, he brought up that dude, Buddy Saunders, the fucking mycomicshop.com dude, who's this awful, like, right-winger guy now.
Oh, no.
This was a blog post of, like, the worst people of 2023 or something, his roundup at the end of the year. And he put Buddy Saunders on there because, like, Comics Journal interviewed Buddy Saunders, but they did not mention his awful past offenses back in the 80s, or even his current awful offenses where he's sending out his, like, right-winger tracts as part of the, like, email newsletter for the company that you sign up for, Like, you'll be reading, like, oh, there's a new issue of Omega Man. Oh, a new Conan.
By the way, the election was stolen.
Yeah, like, it is literally shit like that, like this big chunk in the middle of that.
Right.
But then also, like, back in the 80s, Buddy Saunders was like one of those dudes who wanted a rating system for comics. And they're talking about how, like, the DC's position on maybe actually participating in a rating system estranged people like Frank Miller and Alan Moore from the comics business. And they're saying that Levitz maybe wanted to go along with the rating system, I think is kind of what he was trying to say. But it's just like Levitz being this kind of conservative, no risks type of personality.
Right. It's probably because I have a kid, but I'm sort of pro rating system. I mean, I'm not talking about like the comics code coming down and like censoring people or whatever, but if there's going to be like some super crazy language or something that's going to give my like 7-year-old nightmares, maybe he's not ready for, I'd like to just RPG or something like that.
Yeah.
In the corner.
I mean, that could be like they eventually just did mature readers,
I think my bigger issue with it is they just assume everyone is old because most people are. So they, like, my kid can't follow this stuff. It's written for an adult.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was a different situation in the 80s, like most things were written at a standard for the real general audience,
Right.
But I guess this Buddy Saunders guy, I think he probably, more than a rating system, he just wanted everything to be rated G, Dell comic, whatever, But yeah, this blogger guy kind of pointed out how Levitz is also a dude who is going to like go with the flow of whatever sells comics, whatever doesn't ruffle feathers, just playing it real safe. And I think he definitely does that in his comics, and sounds like he does it in his capacity as a management person at DC.
Well, right. That's how they roll.
I guess so.
Like editors, like newspaper editors or whatever, they're constantly trying to avoid angry letters and keeping everybody happy. So they censor the shit out of everything. And no, you can't do that. That someone might perceive that as offensive, but they really go to great, ridiculous lengths.
Yeah, I think Levitz did a lot. Like, oh yeah, did you see that? It was an Instagram post from Bill Ray. He posted a drawing of, evidently Giffen got in touch with Bill Ray back at the height of like Lobo Mania to do a comic about Lobo's dog, like a humor comic. And Bill Ray was like, I did finished almost a whole comic of this before Levitz caught wind of what we were doing and said we couldn't do it because it was so blasphemous or so outrageous that Paul Levitz canceled the Lobo's Dog by Bill Ray comic. And Bill Ray was like, I was so mad that I didn't even turn over the pages because I didn't want them to own the stuff I drew or something like that.
I'm wondering how bad it could be. I mean, Lobo like cut Santa Claus's head off. Like,
you look at that Lobo stuff that they let pass, but I think it's probably because like like the Lobo ball was already like snowballing, and making money. So he's not going to be like, let's stop making money. But when it's this new spin-off thing that's like more raunchy somehow, we can kill that in its bed or in the womb or whatever,
Right. Lobo's Dog.
Yeah. The drawing was, I remember, like, I mean, it was an Instagram post, so I don't know that there's much to it, but I'm like, yeah, I want to see this. Like, I like Bill Ray drawings,
I bet that was hilarious, or would have been.
Yeah. And it sounds like he still has it. Let's see it, dude. Put it online.
Trencher wasn't very raunchy, was it?
Nah, not really.
Should have been.
It was more cartoony and stupid. Right. Like it was just kind of.
You can be cartoony and stupid and raunchy at the same time.
It was kind of juvenile. Like there was the guy who had like prehensile nose hair and stuff, And like there was a really old woman who showed up in like bondage gear or something.
Yeah, I kind of remember that now.
But I do remember that. It wasn't too dirty. Like there was that thing called. There was a Lobo book called Blazing Chain of Love, where Lobo like infiltrates the harem of like he's supposed to kill the guy who owns the harem, and Lobo has to like fuck every woman in there just before he can get to the bad guy. That's awesome. Like because the women are so starved because the bad guy isn't fucking them. So they see Lobo, who's this virile hunk of man or whatever, so he has to have sex with everybody, like hundreds of women. It's so stupid. And just like dirty, like this got sold to me when I was 12 or something,
Right. To get to the big boss, the final boss.
right. And then it kind of implies that he's killed the women too, but I don't think that happens. I think it's kind of messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lobo comics are not for kids, that's for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're still on Kenneth Holdren, right?
Yeah. I don't feel like I'm, you know what? I stopped after the first paragraph of this earlier today, so I haven't read this yet.
Want to read it real quick? It has a good bit about there needing to be a girl for every guy.
He points out the new plot revelation that Colossal Boy has a crush on Shrinking Violet, and that he's surprised he never knew that was going on before. So in that case, Levitz is emphasizing this new relationship between these two. Sort of. He has a plan, right? He must have the master plan that it's not actually going to be Shrinking Violet that Colossal Boy is interested in.
Well, a couple issues later, like, I think it's maybe it starts in this issue. No, yes, it is this issue. Like, on the next page, if you look at under, like, Shrinking Violet, in her little bio, it mentions she's involved with Colossal Boy. Like, it makes a point to point out that who everyone's shacked up with. It's important.
Well, yeah, I guess that's...
A woman needs a man.
Yeah, this guy goes on to say, sometime before the annual, they tease there's going to be a new Legionnaire. He hopes it's a female Legionnaire.
I think maybe that's part of what annoys me about White Witch, them putting her with Block, other than it being, weird, nonsensical. But, like, was she, like, the only, like, single chick on the whole team?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. I bet she was. Weird. Yeah. But this guy, what kind of... He's one of these fucking 1952 son of a bitches I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The Legion has too many men as it stands now, and one more really wouldn't help. And also, some of the men still need girlfriends.
After all.
Like, so the Legion is a team of boys, and girls are admitted so that those boys can have girlfriends. That's the whole purpose of girl legionnaires.
Right.
What century is this clown writing his letter from? Give me a break, Kenneth Holden. But yeah, it turns out it was not a girl. It was a guy, and a black guy at that.
Oh, man.
Shove it up your ass, Ken.
They'll have to introduce a black girlfriend for him.
Yep. That's another thing. There's not a black girl legionnaire also for till you get Dragon Mage, that same time period.
Computer.
And that girl is Invisible Kid's sister, so they can't date.
And then they kind of do weird, kind of half-assy things, like they brought in Kid Quantum, but he's dead, and he was from a long time ago.
Yeah, they retconned him into he was the first Black Legionnaire right before Invisible Kid, but there was never any comics with him in them.
Well, of course, I'm sure the story that Shooter wanted Pharaoh Lad to be black,
right?
And they told him no. I don't know if he would have died or not, but I guess it'd probably be bad. We got a black guy. He's dead.
Well, he would have, right? I don't think Jim Shooter invented Pharaoh Lad to live forever or to be part of the team forever like everybody else.
He wanted a character that he could kill.
Yeah, and he was going to be a black guy. He wanted a black guy that he could kill. Jim Shooter, whip cracker.
Star Trek all the time, no problem.
Yeah.
Every movie from that era.
Paul doesn't have too much to say to Kenneth Holdren, except sorry.
Don't worry, I'm going to find some pussy for all the dudes. I'm coming up with this cop chick for Sunboy, even though he's probably gay. And
Sunboy's probably gay?
Not Sunboy. I was saying the curly hairs, I get him mixed up.
Oh, Element Lad.
Element Lad.
Sunboy is bisexual.
Omnisexual.
Yeah. He's got a couple of boofers. Greg Whitmore, Kaiser, West Virginia. I'm certainly no artist, but I think I am justified in saying Keith Giffen is the best DC artist I've seen. Where has he been all this time? I've never seen his art. I just want 2 promises. Start drawing Element Lad's hair like Jimmy Janes drew it and never leave the Legion. 2, that's a tall order. Never leave the Legion and draw like Jimmy Janes. I don't think he did either one of those things.
No. I think they've made an editorial mistake in the answer because they mention some of the things he did. All-Star Comics, Challengers of the Unknown, and the Defenders. But the Defenders is in all caps. I thought the Defenders is a Marvel book.
Oh, they wouldn't.
I think they only capitalize DC books. They'll mention a Marvel book, but it won't be capitalized.
Oh, that's probably up to the editor.
You don't think it's a policy?
I bet Paul Levitz has his own style guide that he sticks to. Mm-hmm. Some 30th century style guide. But yeah, that is.
It's like the Tonight Show where they weren't allowed to mention any of the other networks for a long time, and they couldn't show previews from the competition.
I didn't know that. I mean, I'm surprised that he mentions Defenders instead of just the DC books. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Marvel books mentioned many times. They're not that uptight about it, but they seem to make a point out of capitalizing their titles.
Yeah,
putting it in all caps. Bold.
I guess I haven't seen that before. It's kind of funny that they would do that. kind of petty.
It's kind of weird that I noticed something letter-wise that you didn't. When you're the guy who can tell which letter.
Oh, well, I haven't read the letters columns in every comic to know what they do.
Oh,
I guess.
Not yet.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
But I would need to know what their letters look like in a Batman comic or something too.
We should just dump this Legion bullshit and just focus on Super Talk. Just letter columns.
Be all right. But then we'd have to start reading the comics that the letters columns talk about, and then it would be about the same.
Oh God, I never thought of that.
He didn't do too many Defenders, did he? Right, 6 of them, or something.
Half a dozen, maybe.
Yeah, and they're Jack Kirby style, kind of all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it becomes more prominent as it goes, but yeah.
Yeah. Tommy Dunham, Fort Worth, Texas. The backstory in 287 shows that a great conflict is brewing soon, although some fellow readers have probably missed the clues. A world erased from memory, inhabitants very cruel, cold, and calculating, the very design of the buildings and defense weapons strong enough to make even Mon-El scream. the smoldering pits on the surface of this strange planet, and the greatest clue of all, the panels that show the master of this God's forsaken planet. Hope you can come up with something truly new and exciting with the Legion and their probable co-stars. I hope we see light before the dark falls on us, and in case I did get the clues right, Darkseid lives again. This guy figured it out. All those subtle clues planted way back that Darkseid is the big baddie in the Great Darkness saga. He didn't have the luxury of the trade paperback edition that spoils it by putting Darkseid on the cover.
Right. I did go back and look at it, and I don't think it's that obscure. I mean, the fire pits shooting out is pretty distinctly Apocalypse. I don't know that the character isn't very. You don't see him up close. There's nothing distinct that goes, oh man, that's Darkseid. But in the descriptions and the dialogue, like the word dark is like in every panel. Dark, 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 dark. I didn't get a count on how many times they said side, and they use Kirby dots.
Yeah.
It's not miraculous that he guessed. The other thing is Paul Levitz. I mean, this is the second time he's used Darkseid, and maybe no one else has really that I know of post Kirby. But he used him in one of the Justice League like Crisis books. It was like the JLA and the JSA and the New Gods all team up and fight Darkseid.
Oh,
and that
okay.
was I don't know exactly when, probably in between his two runs of Legion.
Yeah, I kind of remember a period like looking at the back issues where it's after Kirby and the New Gods are kind of done with, but I feel like it's before this where they're shoehorning these New Gods guys just here and there in DC Comics in kind of weird ways, and I'm failing to think of any examples, but like you would see Darkseid show up in
the Flash. There was a like a what the hell was it? Their team up book had like Flash and New Gods team up. It was during the period where they brought both New Gods and Mr. Miracle back.
Okay, yeah,
we were kind of talking about that last week.
Yeah, like I remember that Mr. Miracle came back. The New Gods didn't have their own comic, though, did they? Oh, they did. Return of the New Gods.
They called it Return of the New Gods, so they maintained the numbering. And they decided to, like, redesign a bunch of, like, they gave Orion, like, a more...
He had, like, sunglasses on or something, didn't he? He didn't have a helmet.
No helmet. His mask looks like Kid Flash's mask.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a yellow mask. And he has a big O on his chest. Like, they're trying to make him look more like a generic superhero.
Right.
And they added like a blue chick and some other characters.
And that's when Darkseid would just show up everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to think like
that's what they look like, I think, during the Levitz Justice League.
Yeah, that had to have been in like 1976 or something, right? Like they fired Kirby and killed those series, and like 4 or 5 years later they start to bring him back.
Yeah, I think it's more like 78 or 9, but yeah, somewhere.
But then they forget about him again, and then Levitz brings them back with the idea that nobody's thought about these guys in a long time. It's like, 2 generations of child comic book readers have gone through the cycle, and now we're back to nobody remembering the New Gods characters or something.
But this is where it catches on, right? Like
I think this is what really makes it so that Darkseid is. He's bigger than Lex Luthor, bigger than the Joker.
Yeah, he's
et cetera, et cetera.
Their Dr. Doom or whatever.
Yeah.
Mainstay villain. He's everybody's villain.
Yeah, this is what makes him take.
Yeah.
And this guy, Tommy Dunham, he figured it out.
Way to go, Tommy.
Paul Levitt says he's the first to guess our mystery. David Anderson, West Bedford, Massachusetts. Issue 290 was just about the best story I've ever read anywhere. New Invisible Kid and Superboy on the splash page to the very last panel. He's just speculating on who the Servants of Darkness are in the Great Darkness saga.
But that doesn't stop him from bitching about one of his 3 guesses, even though he doesn't know for sure who it is.
Oh, he doesn't like that movie. Superboy is one of them. Is that what he's saying?
He's wondering why it wouldn't be Mon-El. But of course, he's dead wrong about the other 2, right?
He supposes that they're grotesque approximations of Superboy, Brainiac 5, and Shadowlass. And then he says, why Superboy? I think they're grotesque abominations of Orion, Light
Barda.
Ray.
I don't remember Light Ray. I remember maybe Big Barda.
Could be.
And Superman. I'm guessing it's supposed to be Superman. But
yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of foggy. It's been a while since I looked at this. I do kind of think that there is one who has like shadow powers, but it is a lady. I was thinking maybe it was like an evil opposite version of Light Ray or something with darkness powers, but I don't know. I'm rusty.
That would make sense.
But yeah, it must be a Superman thing, right? It has a
Superman,
cape, right?
Superman, even in the Jack Kirby days, was kind of a main adversary. Jimmy Olsen was one of Kirby's 4 books, so Superman was heavily tied into all that New God stuff.
Paul says, by our reckoning, Darkseid gathered the cells for his mockeries in his earlier awakening. Kirby's stories detailed how he acquired Superman's cells. Orion's and Calibax are easy to project, and the others, well, only he knows for sure. Yeah, so there's an Orion and a Calibax abomination, and a Superman. And then there's a lady one that I'm not sure who it is. Actually, there's probably 5 of them, right?
My memory is faulty on this because they redid it, of course. They recycled it later. And I remember reading some of those issues. And I think they picked different characters to be the mockeries.
Wait, when did they recycle it?
Archie Legion, like towards the end.
Wow, I don't remember that.
As you know, I didn't follow that. I tried to read it at first and I lost interest and quit. Part of the reason I quit, other than them not wanting to go through it all over again, is they never put Superboy on the team. It seemed that would be the only plus to like starting over. You wouldn't have that confusion anymore because now you have that clone Superboy. And they hinted that they were going to do that and then they didn't do it. Well, like towards the end of its run, like 10 years later or however, they finally put him on the team. And the storyline was that he joined and involved Darkseid in the mockeries. It was, I don't know if it was verbatim Great Darkness and called Great Darkness, but it was definitely recycling a lot of it.
Oh, wow. I don't remember that at all. I must have just checked out on the last, I don't know, last year or so of that stuff. I think I eventually bought them all.
Really close to the end.
Like, do you think it was before like Abnett and Lanning took over? No, it must have been at the end of that, huh?
This was like right before, like within a year, I think the reboot happened.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know what that. Yeah, I hadn't been reading those. I don't know what happened in those.
Like they canceled the 2 previous books and started a new one, just one single book.
Yeah, it's called The Legion. Yeah,
it was that series.
Yeah, as I recall, like that was Abnett and Lanning, but eventually, like maybe just like the last handful of them, like Gail Simone wrote them.
He had cool covers.
Yeah, they had these kind of like that guy. What was his name? Harris. Like the dude from Starman was doing these kind of computery looking ones, and they had some maybe Adam Hughes. They had some Steve Lytle ones.
It didn't have line work, or like they'd colored the line work, maybe.
Yeah, like digital painting type of shit. That's that Tony Harris dude, I think.
Really? I never would have guessed.
Oh, yeah. Now, is that...
Do you remember any of that?
Tony Harris and Tom Feister, is that right?
It is.
Yeah.
And I never would have guessed that was Tony Harris.
Yeah, it's totally different than that, I don't know, angular type of Starman stuff he was doing. Yeah, he kind of changed how he was operating, I think.
Yeah.
Like either by the end of Starman or after he left it, he got a little...
Maybe.
Like he was a star, right?
Yeah, I didn't want to like him, but I ended up liking him the more I looked at his work. At first it seemed too photo referenced, but he worked a lot, some cartooniness into. It wasn't all just photo trays looking.
Yeah, I think my objection, I think at some point was like to computer, something like that. But like, I guess I don't care now, but I don't really.
Mr. Computer.
Yeah, I'm all about it now. Pry my computer out of my cold dead hands. A lot of our viewers, they would say that about their weapons and their guns. I would just say that about my computer, something totally harmless.
You wouldn't know what to do with a pencil and piece of paper if someone handed it to you.
I would know what to do with it. Throw it in the trash.
Where's the undo key?
Oh, dude, I couldn't live without that.
Where's the auto draw button?
I need layers. I need to adjust the opacity.
It does it for you. So there's Darkseid and his mockeries. So you got Barda there, some kind of Lobo guy. Still have Orion.
And Firestorm?
Firestorm. I don't know who the guy in the middle is supposed to be.
That's weird. What issue
this is? This is issue 26.
Oh, wow.
So
I think that
up to,
went to 31 or something like that, right?
Right. But yeah, I finally got Superboy back, so I started reading it again a little bit.
But I bought those eventually, but I don't think I really read them.
And they shrunk their belts down and got rid of those dumb huge boxes on the sides.
Yeah, good call. Kevin T. Brown, Norridge, Illinois. He's like, where is Bruce Patterson? I like Malstead's art, but only in the pages of Dr. Fate. Please keep Bruce on the Legion and Larry on Dr. Fate, and everybody will be happy, especially me.
Sorry.
Yeah, Bruce Patterson's done. He's gone. He's never coming back. It's Larry Malstead from now on.
He's had it with this shit.
Wait, what'd you say? You think Malstead?
He's had it with it.
Oh.
He's had it with this shit.
Yeah. I mean, Patterson's good. He's kind of a character.
Yeah.
I feel like I read an interview with him in like Comics Journal or Comics Interview. He's kind of a character.
In a good way? Or like,
I can't remember. He was into anime, like back in the 80s even. Just kind of an outspoken kind of a character. I don't remember any details about it, I guess.
Like Ernest T. Bass? He's kind of a character.
Yeah. No, like he was more of a character like more like Keith Giffen than like Paul Levitz, like that kind of character, you know, like just an iconoclast,
and eccentric.
I guess.
So like Gil Kane?
No, like more pervy or something.
Pervy, okay.
I don't know. I don't want to say anything that'll make this guy want to sue me.
He's probably been dead for 15 years.
Probably so. All right, he says keep Bruce on the Legion and Larry on Dr. Fate, and everybody will be happy. Paul says, unfortunately, Larry and Bruce won't be happy. Bruce asked off the Legion after the annual and has moved to Camelot 3000, inking Brian Bolland.
Dude.
Which premieres this month. Larry Malstead jumped at the chance to join the Legion team and has settled in to stay. Yeah, Larry Malstead inks it. He's inking Steve Lytle issues up until like Baxter Legion, whatever, 15 or something. Long time from now. What is this, 295? Wait, his first one's like 290, 287 or something? And he sticks around until 13... Yeah, he does like 3 years worth of Legion comics.
Yeah, he's there for the long haul.
Yeah, Malstead is like, that's who I think of as the inker on Giffen on Legion. But yeah, Bruce Patterson did some. Patterson was inking dudes like the guy before Giffen, Broderick. Next month, we'll look at the Legionnaires the day after the day they saved the universe. Keith will be back, and we'll begin laying the groundwork for our 300th issue spectacular.
Cool. I'm looking forward to that Asian character.
Yeah, who could be this Asian character in the next 2 issues?
Gonna get right on it.
Can't believe this guy. Why would he say that? He's not trying. But yeah, that 300th issue where...
ties everything up.
It's the issue where all the other comic strip characters show up to celebrate the 300th issue of Legion of Superheroes.
Oh, right.
Remember I told you how it's like one of those gasoline alleys where they do that?
Right.
They really
all the guys from the different strips.
Yeah, they really should do that. I guess it's just totally forbidden to have... DC couldn't even pay Marvel to be like, hey, can we put Spider-Man in one comic book?
Oh, yeah.
And have him show up to congratulate Superman on, Action Comics 1000. Could we do that? They'd be like,
they do that. They do it all the time, but they leave it ambiguous enough that they can get away with it.
Yeah, see, I want the real thing. I want the X-Men and Spider-Man to like knock on the apartment door on Clinton Street and be like, hey, I know you're not Clark Kent, you're Superman. We want to wish you a happy birthday. It's your 100,000th issue or whatever, The rest of this thing is the roll call. I guess it's continued from last issue.
Where we can see who's dating who.
Yeah, maybe more than last issue because they're already at Shadowlass. Is there a Legionnaire that starts with A? Atmos? He's not in it yet.
Ass lad.
Block. I guess Block might be the alphabetical first Legionnaire. So back in issue 293, We began with Block, and then by 295 we're starting with Shadowless, and they're just telling us a little capsule reviews or bios of every Legionnaire. Oh, but we get to the end up to Wildfire, and then Paul tells us about the honorary Legionnaires, substitute heroes. And then next issue, a complete checklist of Legion stories begins. Can you think of anything more exciting than a complete checklist of all the Legion comics?
Well, I will say that's where I found out about that Superboy issue I missed.
Oh, okay.
Because I just always end up, after I read whatever required issue, I'm like, what happened in the next issue? Let me check the next one.
Well, do you suppose that Superboy?
It's in the first omnibus.
Is it listed in the Legion handbook?
I'm sure. I mean, it wasn't. I was just a dummy. I don't know how I missed it.
Yeah, it happens.
Not to me, it doesn't. God damn it.
You're just as dumb as everybody else. Don't pretend like you're not.
I'm a Legion expert.
Look at you, dumb son of a bitch.
Read the sign at the beginning of the podcast. Have a disclaimer. David and Dan are not real experts. They have not even reviewed the material.
Well, that was Super Talk. I don't think we're going to go through the roll call. That'll be a special episode someday, maybe. We'll do the whole roll call.
We're starting a new series, a spin-off series. Flight Ringers presents Super Talk, presents Roll Call. It's a spin-off of a spin-off.
It'll be even less popular than the letters page.